Here's a number that should change how you think about your job search. Referrals make up only 7% of all job applicants, but they account for 30 to 50% of all hires. That means referred candidates are 4 to 10 times more likely to get the job.
And when you apply cold online, the average job posting get up to 250 applications. Your resume has less than a 1% chance of leading to an interview.
So if you're spending all the time you've got clicking apply and waiting, you're playing the lowest odds game in the job market.
That's right. Spray and pray, baby. But today we're going to show you a better way. Welcome to Building Your Career Blueprint. I'm Chris Dotson.
And I'm Tom Borg.
Welcome back to Building Your Career Blueprint, the podcast for college students and recent graduates who want to launch their career with intention, confidence, and a real plan. In episode 1, we talked about the career launch gap, why so many graduates aren't ready for the real world. In episode 2, we went deeper into mindset, the stumbling blocks that hold you back and the stepping stones that move you forward. Today, we're going to get a little bit more tactical. This episode is called the proactive job search, and we're going to break down why applying online isn't enough and what to do instead.
Chris, as you know, I've been in business over 25 years, my consulting and training, and I can tell you the way most people look for jobs today is the least effective approach I've ever seen. The fundamentals of getting hired haven't changed. Relationships still matter more than resumes.
Yeah. So let's talk about how we build those relationships and do so strategically.
Okay. So let's start with how most people search for jobs. They go to Indeed, LinkedIn, company career pages. They find a posting, submit a resume, maybe customize the cover letter, and then they just wait.
And wait, and wait, and wait.
That's right. And here's why that approach fails. I've talked to hiring managers for decades. When a job gets posted publicly, they're often already overwhelmed. They're not carefully reading every resume. They're scanning for keywords and looking for reasons to say no.
And the numbers back that up too. The average job posting, again, 250 applications received. And of those, only 2 to 6 candidates typically get an interview. That's less than a 2% chance of getting a call back. It gets worse. Yeah, 75% of resumes submitted through job boards never even see human eyes. They get filtered out through the ATS, that applicant tracking system. It might be formatting issues or missing keywords.
Mm-hmm. So you're competing against hundreds of people. Most applications don't make it past the computer. And even if yours does, you're just a name on a screen. No relationship, no context, no advantage.
And that's the reality when you apply cold online. Less than 1% chance of getting that interview.
And Chris, can you imagine how frustrating it is for students who are applying for positions and not getting an answer? That frustrates me because students spend hours perfecting their resume, then use it in the least effective way possible. It's like buying a great suit and then interviewing over the telephone. So how about this? Let's talk about what actually works. And this is something we've seen consistently over the years. So relationships drive hiring, not job boards, not algorithms. It's people. So here's what research shows. Referrals make up only 7% of all job applicants, but they account for 30 to 50% of all hires. Now, let's let that sink in. Referrals make up only 7% of all job applicants, but they account to 30 to 50% of all hires. So that means if you come in through a referral, you're 4 to 10 times more likely to get the job than if you apply cold.
Yeah, and it's not just about getting hired, right? It's referrals actually, the data shows tend to stay longer and perform better. Employers trust someone who comes recommended. And partly people stick around when they have friends at work. It's one of the things that Gallup measures with their Q12, their engagement survey. Do I have a best friend at work? So it's just really interesting to think about when you have that relationship, you're coming in warmer as the outsider because you have a connection inside the organization already. And also as you build those relationships more intentionally, you're more likely to stay. So it's a win-win for the employee and the employer when referrals are coming in.
That's right. And so what about this? What's exactly a proactive job search? That's what we want to talk about here. You build relationships intentionally. You don't wait for them to happen.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This isn't about being pushy. It's not about being salesy. It's about being strategic, being really thoughtful in your approach. Most employers would rather hire someone they know, someone who comes recommended, than sort through 250 strangers and hope for the best.
That's right. You're not gaming the system. You're working with how hiring actually happens.
Yeah. So let's take a moment. Let's start to define what we mean by proactive job search here. Proactive job search, again, it's intentional, it's relationship driven to find those opportunities rather than just responding to what's posted. It's going to include identifying the companies you want to work for before they even have openings, right? Before they have openings, reaching
Mm,
out directly to people inside those companies, starting to build relationships through informational interviews and networking, creating visibility. So when that role opens, your name comes up. In other words, it's about creating opportunities, not just responding to them.
and that's something I want to emphasize here. You're not asking strangers for jobs. You're building genuine relationships based on curiosity and mutual respect. When I started my consulting business decades ago, I didn't have clients. I had conversations. I met people. I asked questions. I followed up. And over time, those relationships turned into opportunities. The same principle applies to your job search. You're planting seeds. It takes time. You've got to be patient, but you have to have a system. And that's what we're gonna help you with. Chris?
Yeah, and just to reiterate the numbers again, the success rate of the spray and pray method versus a more intentional approach. When you apply cold, less than a 1% chance of getting an interview. When it comes to a relationship referral, that number jumps to 30% or higher.
I like those odds. Hey, so
A lot
let's
better.
Yeah. So yes, it takes more attention, but you're not sending out 100 applications into the void, hoping one sticks. You're having 10 meaningful conversations that actually lead somewhere.
Yeah. So let's walk through this step by step. Where do you start?
Okay. Step one is to identify your target companies. Instead of searching for job titles, you're searching for organizations. Here's some questions you can ask yourself. What industries interest you? What do you know about those industries? What companies align with your values? Now, that's something we'll cover later in one of our programs, one of our podcasts. We do go into great depth in our actual program. But the key is what companies do align with your values and what organizations are doing work that you find meaningful. I've often said this to some of our students. I, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to work for a tobacco company. Sorry, that
Mm.
just doesn't go along with my values. So, point is, what organizations are doing the work I find meaningful, and then next, where do I want to live or work? Start thinking about that. Maybe you're content and just living in Michigan. That's great. We do know this, that if you take that circle and make it bigger around the geographic area you could live, your opportunity goes up. Your chances of being hired go way up because you're just multiplying the number of places you can apply to. Chris?
Yeah. So we're going to start with those 10 to 20 companies that you mentioned, Tom. Start identifying those targets. But how do you find the companies that you might have on your target list?
Well, let's think about this. So a few ways you can do this. First, think about brands you already admire, companies you follow, products you use. Some people think very highly of Amazon or maybe some of these other companies that are out there that are just doing work you really admire. Second, search industry lists, best places to work, fastest growing companies, top employers in your city. Third, use LinkedIn. Search by industry and location. See where people with your degree or major are working. Fourth, this is one people forget. Ask people that you already know, professors, alumni, family, friends. What company should I be looking at? You'd be surprised how many insights others have. Now, we mentioned this before in one of our other podcasts, but point is, look for those trivial acquaintances, people you run into that know somebody that they ask you to follow up with. These can lead to something. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, those loose connections are really, really powerful, Tom.
Mm.
It is really, really powerful to think about not just who your core friend circle is, but who are those people that you know a little bit who might be able to introduce you. And so, Tom, you mentioned a lot of things here, but are you doing this before we even have the job opening? Is that right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about this. Old Wayne Gretzky had the saying, he said, people ask him, how come you're so good? How come you're always in the right place at the right time? He was one of the best hockey players that ever played. He said, hey, it's not that I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just skating to where I think the puck's going to be. And
Mhm.
that's the same thing with you in your search for your job or your career out there. You got to go to where it's going to be. The job you may be looking for may not even be created yet. I heard yesterday in a program Chris and I presented for on a panel, a woman mentioned how oftentimes uh, you just show up and you're able to have that conversation, you get that relationship started, and they see that you're really a quality person that has a as a real motivation for doing what they would like someone like you to do, they'll find a place for you. They'll create a position. So
Yeah, yeah. When you come across with that hunger, and people get excited. Hiring managers get excited. This person's hungry. They got a will to roll up their sleeves, get it done, and they're here to learn. They're here to grow. They're here to make a difference. Like that. When you can convey that energy, that's really
that's right.
powerful.
Well, and that's the key shift. You're not waiting for a job posting. You're identifying where you want to be and then working to get on that radar. Okay. Chris, back to you.
Yeah. So the next thing we got to do is to put in the work, do the research.
Mhm.
Once you have your target list, start to learn more about their company. What do they do? What's their mission? What's happening in the industry right now?
Mm,
What have
mm.
they been in the news for recently? Are they growing, launching something new? And it's not just for your knowledge, it's for your conversation. So when you're showing up for the interview or you're tailoring your cover letter, you're being really intentional about being able to call some of these things into play. So you sound informed. It's not just a generic message when you're doing your reach outs to folks.
Absolutely. Think about this way. If you were the person that was going to be doing the hiring, wouldn't you want to talk to somebody that done their research, knew about your mission, that they read up on any recent happenings in your company and the media? That means that person's interested, right? Yeah, that's the person I want to talk to. So how about this? Then you find people to contact. LinkedIn is your best tool here. Search for people who work at your target company. Look for alumni from your school. It's a great opportunity. People have an affinity for other people that have gone to the same school they have. So that's always a great place to start. Alumni from your school. That's a natural connection. People in roles you're interested in. See, remember, take a genuine interest in that person that you're looking to have that conversation with. Hey, you got a job that I'd love to have, but just tell me more about how you got there. What's the road you took? What were some of the classes you took in college? What were some of the internships you had that led to that opportunity for you? So take a real interest in people. Hiring managers or team leads, that could be a person, some of the people you want to talk to. HR or talent acquisition, if you can't find anyone else. The goal is to find someone you can reach out to for a conversation, not ask for a job. Don't even go in there with that mindset. You're just simply learning about that person, learning about the road they took, just finding out information you want to know about in that industry. That way, you're going to come across in a genuine way. Okay,
Yeah.
if they sense for a moment that you're just trying to get a job, it's going to turn them off. Chris?
Yeah. It's a really important distinction. You're not cold emailing somebody asking for a job.
That's right. Yeah, cold emailing for a job. That's one of the worst things. That puts all the pressure on them. It really works. Instead, you're asking for insight, a 15-minute conversation, their perspective on the industry or the company. That's a much easier yes. People like to talk about the work. Believe me, they have their lines memorized. You ask the right questions, they know the answers. They like helping others who are genuinely curious. And you're not asking for a favor, you're showing interest. Okay, how about this? Let's go on to step 3. Send a letter of introduction. Now, this is part of that proactive process. Oftentimes people won't even think of this possibility of actually just reaching out to a company and just introducing yourself. Again, not applying for a position. You don't even know if a position is available, but you're sending a letter of introduction. And when you do this, that gets the ball rolling. So step 3 is sending a letter of introduction. This can be a LinkedIn message or an email. Keep it short, professional, and personal. Here's a simple structure we've taught for years. First, line 1, introduce yourself briefly. Go like this. Hi, my name is, your name is, and I recently graduated from the university with a degree in such and such major. Yeah. Line 2, explain why you're reaching out specifically to them. I'm reaching out because I'm interested in learning more about ABC Company and your work in this specific area. Line 3, make a small ask. Would you have 15 minutes in the next couple of weeks for a brief conversation? I'd love to hear your perspective on the business of how things are changing in your industry, something like that. Line 4, thank them. Thank sound like this. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. That's it. 4 lines, respectful, specific, and easy ways to say yes. Now, if you'd like to get a copy of that, please contact us. We'll be happy to send you that script so you can put that in your files for your job search. Chris, back
Yeah,
to you.
and tell me, what do you recommend if somebody doesn't respond? If you don't hear back from them right away.
Well, let's face it, people are busy. People have other things that are on their priority list. So I would suggest follow up once about a week later. Keep it short. Say, hey, hi, Joe. Just want to follow up my note from last week. I understand you're busy. If there's a better time or way to connect, I'm happy to work around your schedule. Now, if they still don't respond, move on. Not everyone will say yes. That's okay. You're building a pipeline, not relying on one person.
Yeah.
Chris?
And the math's, it's in your favor here. Not every one of these 250 people is going to be reaching out and making these warm connections via LinkedIn, via email. You may be the only one doing so, and you're doing it with a genuine interest in learning. It's a data gathering mission that you're on here. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to get hired and find a job and a career that really aligns with what you're looking for here. But at these early stages, what we're looking for is let me find good information. I want good data to make sure that this is the right type of place I'm going to work. Because you might feel really good about a place on paper. All of a sudden, you talk to a couple of people, they're like, "Ooh, that place is actually a little bit of a rougher cultural situation than what I had seen from the outside, and maybe now I'm no longer interested." For
Mhm.
others, you might do a little bit of research, like, "Oh wow, there's some really interesting things happening there,"
Wow.
and now I'm more interested.
Chris, I can add one more thing to that. Remember,
Please,
you're on a journey, okay? Don't think it's one and done and that it's going to be instantly, you're going to find an instant job. It's going to take some time, and consider that part of the learning process. You're going to learn, well, these are some things I shouldn't do, or here's some questions I shouldn't ask, or here's some questions that seem to work. But you develop that mindset that this is a journey that you're on, and that you're going to just going to take as long as it's going to take, but you're going to be there for the entire journey. You're going to make it happen. And you expect it to not find everybody friendly and willing to have a conversation with you, or willing to just share information, but realize that if you consistently work on this over a period of time, you will get better at this. You'll actually develop the skill of looking for this position, this future career, which will serve you for a lifetime. So that's
yeah,
important.
and I think that what you hit there, Tom, that really resonates with me is helps for a lifetime because this isn't just about, again, the tools that we're talking about here are not just going to help you land your first job or even your
That's
second or
right.
third job. It's not just even about the job search. It's developing the muscle and the skill to reach out to people authentically and start building relationships with people and then being able to ask thoughtful questions once we get to the informational interview stage. So let's say someone does say yes. Now what?
Okay, so now you're ready. You have an informational interview. This is a short informational conversation, usually 15 to 20 minutes, no longer, no longer,
Mhm.
unless they ask you to stay and they want to share a little bit more. But key is keep it to 15, 20 minutes. The goal is not to ask for a job. The goal is to learn about the career path, understand the company and industry, build a genuine relationship, start to building a genuine relationship, and then make a positive impression. The please and thank yous, that goes a long ways in that first impression. Now, if you do those things, if you do them well, opportunities often follow naturally.
So, Tom, I think what people are probably wondering right now, what are the types of questions I should ask?
Ah, good question. So here are a few I recommend. Okay. What path led you to your current role? Second, what do you enjoy most about working at ABC company? Or how about this one? What skills or qualities are most important for success in this field? Here's another one. What advice would you give someone like myself who's just starting out? Is there anyone else you'd recommend I speak with? Now, that last question is a good one because it opens up the door to more connections. You don't want to end right there with that person if possible. So one conversation becomes two, two becomes four, goes from there.
That's right. I love that. Again, great way to build that network out organically just by that last ask. Anyone else that maybe in your network, whether at this company or otherwise, you think would be helpful for me to speak to. But one of the things I noticed here, Tom, is it didn't sound like you were asking for a job during this conversation. Is that
No,
right?
absolutely not. That is exactly what you don't want to do. So, what we're doing is we're asking for not for a job, but for a conversation. That's what we're doing. This is really what it's all about. It's having a conversation. So, but what often happens is in this great conversation that you're having, you follow up with a thank you note. Now, yeah, you can send an email. I would do that same day. But if you're really serious about making a impact on that person you just had a conversation with, I'd send a handwritten thank you note. That's right. Invest 78 cents or 85 cents, whatever that stamp is worth nowadays. Nice handwritten thank you note, a nice note that you get from a nice store where it looks like it's worth something, and send that out. I would say the next day, but email that same day, send out the handwritten thank you note uh, by the end of the next day, and then stay in touch with them. A few weeks or months later, a role opens up and they think of you. Another thing about thank you note, like I always tell all of our students, has shelf life, right? You send an email, it gets gone, it vanishes, they don't see it after 12 seconds. But a thank you note has shelf life. It comes, hey, how many people get thank you notes? Not that many. They get them usually, they stick them right on top of that credenza. It stays there for a while. Who knows? But it's a hard copy, it's a reminder. So again, that's how relationship driven hiring works. It starts with conversations, you're building relationships, you're not filling out or sending in applications. So we said a lot so far, but let's move on. Step 5, follow up and stay visible. Now, step 5 is follow up. And I can't stress this enough. This is where most people drop the ball. They just are impatient or they just give up. But not for you. That's not for you. This is where you can stand out. In the 25 years plus I've been in business, I've seen this over and over again. The person who follows up wins, not because they're more talented, but because they showed they cared enough to stay in touch.
So, Tom, what does good follow up look like?
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, send a thank you message within 24 hours. That email is fine. However, a handwritten note is even better. Matter of fact, I'm not going to say it's even better. I think it's mandatory. If you want to stand out, send a handwritten thank you note. If 99 other people had applied for that position or had that conversation with that individual, send an email and that's it. You're automatically going to stand out by having that handwritten thank you note. Okay. Now, when you do send the note, say something that is something specific from your conversation that you appreciated or learned. So it's not just a, hey, thank you very much, but refer back to the conversation you had, something they did or said that had an impact on you. Now, third, stay in touch over time. Check in every few weeks or months, share an article they might find interesting, congratulate them on a work anniversary or promotion. Keep the relationship warm. And when you do have that conversation with them, make sure you look for areas you might have things in common. I know I was talking with a magazine editor. They wanted me to write for their magazine, which I'm doing now. But I noticed in the background he had a guitar behind him, and I said, "You play?" And he got off on this tangent about he's been playing. He's got 4 guitars and he plays in the band, and that was great. Now I play a little myself, but it wasn't about me. It was all about him, and he talked all about it. And guess what? The next time we had a conversation, I asked, "So how many gigs have you been on in the last 3 months?" And it just brings them back into the present moment. How you develop these relationships? Just find things you have in common and bring them up from time to time. So keep
Yeah,
the
it's a
relationship
great
warm.
point, Tom. I'm just
Yep.
looking even at your background now, and I'm like, is that a baseball player I see behind you? He used to play for the Detroit Tigers by chance. He looks
Yeah.
familiar back there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother story. I'd be happy to talk about it another time. But yes,
But
it's
again,
true.
just look for those examples. Like, oh, Tom, I see you got a bunch of books on your bookshelf. Like, what's one of those favorite ones that's behind you? There are clues, whether in a virtual conversation or in person, that can be great conversation starters. Like courage over comfort. What is that? What is that about?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
famous thing from Brene Brown. It's one of these foundational things for me that reminds me to do the hard things, even when I'm having some self doubt. So,
Mhm.
anyway, again, these are the types of things that you can make connections with people on. Just pay attention to it. And one other tactical thing I just wanted to share,
Yes.
every time I'm going to meet with somebody, if it's in person, I have my handy dandy notebook. I'm old school. Yep, it's on pen and paper. You can bring your digital one if you want. Or if I'm talking to somebody like Tom, I've got my Zoom open here, but I've also got right next to it here, I've got a Word doc or a Google doc. I usually do a Google Doc. It's easier to take it everywhere I go. I've got my
Mhm.
questions up, but I take actual notes right there in the document while we're having the conversation. One, so I can always pull it back for the next time I might talk to Tom. But also, it's like when we're sending that nice handwritten email or that follow up, we've got some notes that we can reference about what was said
Mhm.
in the conversation. So it's just a really tactical thing. Don't think that you have to remember everything in your mind. Take a couple of them. I mean, be present, but take a couple of notes and what's something that really stood out to you from what they shared.
Absolutely. Chris, and I just got to refer back to that. You talked about that picture of me behind there in a baseball uniform. Again, that gets you past the red velvet rope. Now, there's an author out there, I can't remember his name, but he wrote about when you can develop relationships with potential clients or with, in this case, potential employers, where they unhook that red velvet rope and they allow you in to the VIP section.
Mm.
That's making a difference. That's when you're going to be making some progress. So that comes from just taking a genuine interest in other people. And they sense that and they want to respond. So that's really what it's about here.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And one of the things is, folks, as you're practicing these informational interviews, don't worry about how well the first couple of them go. It's just like anything that you get better at. It's going to feel a bit clunky. It's going to feel a little bit awkward the first couple times you do it, the first handful of times. But the more you do it, the easier it's going to get, the more natural it will be. The more you'll start to be able to fine tune your questions, the more they're going to start to roll off your tongue. But they're not going to sound perfect. Tom and I haven't sound perfect on this podcast. And we do this unedited, unfiltered, because guess what? When you show up live to an interview, it's unfiltered and it's live, and there are no do-overs. So you're going to get to see us making some mistakes here and there. And that's okay. But you just keep going. You keep moving forward. You keep getting better with it. This is episode 3 of the podcast. When we're at episode 300, we'll probably go back and listen to episode 3 and be like, man, we had no idea what we were doing. And that's okay. It's part of getting a little bit better at it. We're not going to be awesome in episode 3, but you better believe we're going to keep showing up.
That's right. Yeah, that's the best part about it. We're always working on getting better. We're just having fun doing it. And actually, that's another point we should make before we wrap it up here today. Have fun with this whole thing. It's a journey.
Mhm.
Have some laughs. Get to know people. Laugh at yourself, when you make those mistakes. But at the same time, recognize that you're just beginning this journey, and it's a long, rewarding journey. You're going to have some bumps in the road, but you're going to take it over time, and you're going to just appreciate it as she goes. So that's exactly it. The proactive job search is ongoing. You're building a network of relationships, not just collecting contacts. And those relationships can pay huge dividends over your entire career, not just your first job. Remember, that's the approach you want to take. It's over a lifetime. Chris,
That's
back to
right.
you.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Tom, let's start to pull it all together. Let's recap the 5 steps. Tom, take us through the first 2.
Sure. So, number 1, identify 10 to 20 target companies based on your interests, values, and goals. Step 2, research each company and find contacts on LinkedIn, alumni, people in roles you want, hiring managers, and anywhere else you can find those contacts.
Excellent. So step 3, this is where we send that letter of introduction. Short, specific, asking for a conversation, not the job. Step 4, once you hear back from those folks, do some informational interviews. Learn, listen, build relationships for additional connections.
That's right. Step 5, follow up and stay visible. Thank you notes, LinkedIn connections, periodic check-ins. Maybe send them a article that you came across that they might be interesting to them. If you do this consistently, you'll build relationships that lead to opportunities, often before those opportunities are ever posted.
Mhm. And you're not abandoning online applications entirely, just to be clear.
No, you can still apply to posted jobs, but now you're doing it strategically. It's part of your strategic plan, so to speak. If you see a posting at a target company, you're not just clicking apply, you're reaching out to someone inside, you're getting a referral, you're coming in warm instead of cold. That
Mm.
combination, proactive outreach plus strategic applications, it's how you maximize your chances.
All right. So before you close, here's your action step for this week.
Okay, get out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone.
And here's what I want you to do: write down 10 companies you're excited to work for, or just excited to look into. Like, I'd be really interested in looking into these companies. They may be big global companies. Tom mentioned Amazon. Another strategy you might think about is who's got headquarters here in your local community or in your local area that you can look into. You might be surprised to find out, who are some of these companies if you want to work for a more medium or large size company. But anyway, make that list and just start with one. Pick one. Do some research. Find one person on LinkedIn who you can reach out to who works at the company. Draft that short introduction message using the structure that Tom shared earlier.
Yeah, and you don't have to send it today, but get it ready. At least uh, put a rough draft together. Okay, that's the first step toward a proactive job search.
And if you want help building out your full strategy, that's exactly what we're here to cover at Career Blueprint Program.
So assessments, exercises, templates, and guided support to help you get hired and thrive. Not just to get hired, but hired and thrive. So reach out if you want to learn more. We're here to help. If it's your mom or dad that needs to help get involved, please, we'd love to talk with them. Get them on the phone with us. We'll be happy to talk about next steps. So, all right, let's land this plane. Key takeaways from today. First, applying online has less than 1% success rate. Referrals are 4 to 10 times more effective. Number 2, referrals account for 30 to 50% of all hires. I like those odds, even though they're only 7% of the applicants. A proactive job search means building relationships, not just submitting applications. Number four, the 5 steps: target companies, research and find contacts, send introductions, conduct informational interviews, follow up, and stay visible. Number five, relationships drive hiring. Start building them now.
In our next episode, we're going to talk more about networking, specifically how to do it without that awkward feeling or noticing that it feels a little awkward and doing it anyway. We'll talk about mindset shifts, conversation starters, and how to build genuine relationships, open doors.
That's right, because networking doesn't have to feel like selling. It can feel like connecting, and that's something I've learned over the 25 plus years I've been building a business. Relationships are everything.
Thanks for listening to Building Your Career Blueprint. I'm Chris Dotson,
And I'm Tom Borg.
your career by design. See you next time.